Hmm. Last night, someone broke into our house and stole all the bikes except for mine. Lucky me. Had it been the other way around, I would have been really bummed. Hey guys. Today's video is about one of the core principles in Buddhism and why it is possible to have technically negative emotions and not suffer at all from them. It can be quite puzzling for beginners to grasp the idea behind all of this. Hence, I will try to explain today why the concept of me, mine, and I are so very important when it comes to the freedom from suffering. But without further ado, let us dig into the content that I've created. Whenever I want to explain the concept of selfing and ownership to others, I use a simile the Buddha came up with. He once asked a group of monks, or bhikkhus as he called them, if they were upset if someone would come along and grabbed all the branches and the grass and the dry leaves from the forest they were residing in. The obvious answer to that was no, as monks do not own any material goods and the forest was not theirs. However, imagine someone coming into your garden and doing the very same thing. Most people would be furious by the idea of all of that. The whole thing might be a bit easier to understand with a more modern example though. Imagine living in a city and someday someone breaks into your apartment complex and steals half the bicycles, but yours. Would you be mad? Well, maybe a bit, but not as much as if the thief would have taken your bike as well. The only real difference, if I might say so, between both scenarios is the idea of ownership. You dislike one of those events as you mentally make one of those bicycles yours. If you own it, then you suffer from the stealing, so to speak. And if we are perfectly objective and compare both events, the only real difference we can come up with is the relationship we have to the object in question. Interestingly, this is not only true for material goods, but just as much true for ideas, views, opinions, and even thoughts or emotions. And especially when it comes to thoughts and emotions of the bad kind, people would love not to own those. And that is indeed possible to achieve through proper training and meditation, for example. Thoughts and negative emotions aren't that different from bicycles from a mind perspective. In fact, they are exactly the same when it comes to the aspect of ownership and me, mine, or I. Most people don't suffer when someone else has a negative emotion in their mind. They only suffer when they think it is their thought and their negative emotion. Thoughts and emotions just arise without us doing them in the classical sense. We are not the controller of thoughts and emotion. In Buddhism, the mind is just another sensory organ for a reason, because it just comes up with thoughts and emotions. They just arise and they plague us if we think they are ours. And one might think that it would require some mental acrobatics to meme ourselves into believing that thoughts and emotions are not ours. But the opposite is true. If you train your mind in meditation and are very watchful, concentrated, and alert, you can direct your attention towards the right things and see for yourself. You can experiment to a degree. Thoughts and emotions just arise without doing them in the classical sense. They arise in our mind, and then we add the ours part to them. That makes us feel bad. If that part wasn't there, a negative emotion would be nothing more than a random bicycle being stolen somewhere in the classical sense. Pardon for the metaphor, but if you do not own the thought or emotion, then it does not plague you. And the gradual training that allows us to achieve this state of mind is meditation, as prescribed by the Buddha. The entire training is designed to change our attitude of ownership toward things, to remove the bad from them while leaving the rest as it is. The more we meditate, the sharper our mental skills grow, and we become better at telling the different mental phenomena apart, as an example. And at some point, things just click and our perception shifts a bit, and things are suddenly in the right order again. And once you have seen that happen for yourself, it is not possible to unsee it again. It is like in those meme pictures where you realize that duck beaks look a bit like dog masks or fox masks. I'm not sure anymore. It just changes the way you look at things forever. And it is much harder to take a thought or an emotion that arises in your mind as yours in the classical sense. And once you stop doing that, negative emotions gradually lose their grip on your mind and you experience freedom from them. And this is one of those aspects that the Buddha described as the first jhana, for example, one of the higher states of mind. And personally, it took me pretty long to realize how all of this works. I made the corresponding experiences quite fast and knew that something was removing the negativity from my life, and I also knew it was meditation related, but that was about it. I had no clue what it was that I was unknowingly doing. And only recently did I realize what was actually going on consciously enough so that I could explain it to other people. And this is really freeing for me because it really helps to get a good understanding of what you do, to actually be able to reproduce it further into the future. And when I first started, there were a lot of negative emotions going on all the time. But the more I meditated, the quicker they faded away. The very gross negativity faded surprisingly fast, but even the more subtle stuff was affected. I am now meditating for more than 3 or 4 years without interruption, with an ever-improving tendency, and there is little bad remaining. I can be very confident in that, because I experience it every day, and I can see what previously triggered me and how it is not triggering me anymore. And I am pretty grateful for all those people keeping those tools and teachings alive for such a long time without them getting corrupted or changed in any way, because they still work just as well as during the time of the Buddha. Okay, but let us now come to the most important points. First, we see the world through lenses of ownership on the levels of gut feelings. This is very important. Intellectually, we might know that we do not own those things in reality, but it doesn't matter as long as we feel like we own them. And this is an evolutionary relic that has been useful in the past, very useful even. However, everything we consider mine or me leads to suffering, as in the bike example I gave you. If you don't consider something yours, you do not suffer from negative things when something happens to those ownership-related objects of yours. When your bike is stolen or gets rusty, you only suffer if it is yours. If it is just a random bicycle at the side of the road, you don't waste a second thought or emotion about it. And through right meditation, we can train ourselves to remove the ownership relationship and thus the suffering from our experience. Everything else stays the same. It is still technically on the conventional level your bike and you can enjoy riding it. You just won't suffer when it breaks apart, and that's about it. Anyway, that is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy what I do, feel free to subscribe to the channel and leave a like to the video. But until then, I wish you a pleasant day and goodbye.